Hi, my name is Sarah Milliron. My teammates include Andrea Wilhelm, Dr. Bryan D. Poole, Vince Johnson, and Terrence Clark. And the name of our project is Be Kind to Yourself, Self-Compassion, Self-Esteem, and Motivation. So to start out with the literature review, psychologists recognize that self-compassion and self-esteem are two different concepts, largely due to the different evaluative processes that individuals engage in when experiencing one or the other. The concept of self-compassion contains three dimensions, including self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness, which are considered necessary for the presence of self-compassion. Self-compassion is found to motivate individuals to improve their performance and themselves without the presence of self-judgment, which hinders self-improvement. Conversely, self-esteem is based on the evaluation of the self, leading self-esteem to be highly correlated with negative constructs such as self-judgment, narcissism, drawbacks, distorted self-knowledge, and more. Self-esteem does not allow for a stable positive self-regard. Past literature provides evidence that motivation is predicted when the three dimensions of self-compassion are present. Self-compassion does not need to protect the self-concept when performing or being evaluated, unlike self-esteem. Self-compassion motivates individuals to achieve, but not reinforce positive self-image. Consequently, because self-compassion is not dependent on the evaluation of others, performance should not affect self-compassion. Similarly, without the need for a successful performance, self-compassion is shown to have a more positive coping strategy when failure occurs. Although these findings have shown significant steps towards understanding self-compassion and its implications, the majority of studies have relied on self-report. This study aimed at a more controlled methodology to investigate the implications that self-compassion and self-esteem have on motivation. So for the methodology, we had 71 participants who volunteered from Lee University, and data from 64 participants make up for the following analysis. The participants were compensated with extra credit, and then they were assessed using different scales, such as the self-compassion scale, the TIPI, the Rosenberg self-esteem scale, and so on. So participants were randomly assigned to one of three conditions: self-compassion, self-esteem, or true neutral. The first two conditions were manipulated through the use of writing prompts used in past research. The participants in the true neutral condition did not partake in the manipulation. After priming each condition, the participants engaged in a task that measured extrinsic motivation through a point system that ensured participant failure. Reaction times were assessed to eliminate the need for self-report. We predicted through a two-tailed hypothesis that participants who were randomly assigned to the self-compassion condition will experience a significant change in motivation compared to those in the true neutral condition. Self-esteem is not predicted to increase or decrease motivation to the same degree, although it may still be a greater difference as compared to the true neutral condition participants. Now on to Andrea.
Upon the conclusion of data collection, we ran a one-way ANOVA, and this was conducted to determine if there was a statistically significant difference between the conditions, which were once again self-compassion, self-esteem, or the true neutral control group on extrinsic motivation. The results indicated that there was not a significant effect of the conditions on the target dependent variable, which was their extrinsic motivation, with a p-value of 0.829. An additional one-way ANOVA was conducted to determine a statistically significant difference between the conditions on affective arousal, motivation, and valence after completing the writing prompts. This revealed that there was not a significant effect of the conditions on arousal or motivation, with a p-value for arousal of 0.262 and a p-value of 0.163 for motivation. However, we did see that there was a significant effect of the conditions on affective valence with a p-value of 0.044. The follow-up Tukey's revealed that a self-compassion writing prompt results in a greater positive valence compared to those in a true neutral condition with a p-value of 0.035. As you can see here on the graphs on the top right, these were our three conditions, and as you can see, there is no significant difference in the participants' extrinsic motivation on the task that they completed. Additionally, you can see on the table too that there was a significant difference between of the effect of the conditions on their valence, affective valence mean. For the discussion, we were unable to conclude that self-compassion and self-esteem had any effect on extrinsic motivation, but we were able to conclude that self-compassion positively influences valence compared to control conditions. We do want to point out that although we were unable to conclude that self-compassion and self-esteem don't impact extrinsic motivation, this could be because our manipulation for self-esteem and self-compassion were not successful in manipulating those. Further research would definitely help by conducting this research on a larger sample, as well as looking at new ways to assess for self-compassion and self-esteem, and particularly find new ways of manipulating these. These are our references. We thank you for listening to our presentation.